So, been a busy week, hasn't it? So,
Yeah,
right,
again.
yeah. So it starts on Sunday.
That's it?
Yeah, it starts last Sunday at the time of recording. There was an audio recording leaked of Donald Trump banging on insanely for an hour to the governor of Georgia, demanding that he overturn the election results and trying to get him to just corruptly claim that the election was fraudulent, which, to the governor of Georgia's credit, he refused.
Well, like everyone has been doing, pretty much.
Well, yeah, because it's insane. Anyway, but that's not the most important. That any other week, any other year, that would be a huge, monumental, record-breakingly corrupt story. But it gets worse, so we all know. So on Tuesday, the Georgia Senate, Georgia held a couple of runoff elections where the fate of the Senate hung in the balance, and the Democrats won both of them. So the Democrats now have effective control of the Senate. It's a bit complicated and boring, to be honest, but they won, which has really pissed off a lot of Republicans. Then on Wednesday, they had to, the government of America had to meet at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., and just read out the results of the election, the electoral college votes, and confirm that they understood them. That was it. It was ceremonial, normally. But something went wrong, didn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
Can't think what.
Let's see if any of us can remember, because it was just a little thing, wasn't it?
Such a
It
whirlwind.
was the fucking Nazis! Right, so Trump had lost the election. He lost the election in November. Lost it really quite badly, even though he claims it was close. Lots of people go, "Oh, it was really close." It wasn't. It really wasn't close until he lost. But he was claiming that there was fraud. There's been no evidence of this. Rudy Giuliani, his batshit lawyer, has been going around also claiming that there was fraud with no evidence. He's brought loads of court cases. All of them have been laughed out of court, apart from one, which was a procedural thing that doesn't matter. And then there was a rally that he held on the day that Mike Pence, the vice president, was supposed to just confirm the results in the Capitol building. So they had a big rally. It was the American far right. Now, the American far right nowadays is mental. Really, it consists of old school Nazis who are Nazis. They hate Jewish people and think Jews should control the world. It consists of QAnon cultists who believe in an absurd conspiracy theory that, when you boil right down to it, claims that Jewish people control the world. Really, I mean, they call them globalists, but it's pretty clear that what they mean is Jews. And you have.
That's usually what it comes down to, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
That's usually what it comes down to with these people.
It's pretty much always what it comes down to, yeah. And then you also have the Proud Boys, who are Nazis who claim not to be Nazis. They claim to be Western chauvinists.
Yeah.
But they're all Nazis. They're just Nazis.
So proud that they don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Try to hide the fact, even though everyone can see it. That's true pride, that is. It's
Deny all knowledge.
really showing your support for your own beliefs there, isn't it?
It's they have black and brown members. There are Proud Boys from
Well, I mean, in that certainly in that situation,
so
you would be embarrassed, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, a little bit.
But if you were a black person and a member of the Proud Boys, yeah, it's kind of the opposite of being proud, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, they weren't. They didn't. Yeah, I mean, their leader Enrico Tarrio was arrested on the way to the rally. Because bear with me 1 second. I'm sorry, this color changing light thing isn't working for me at all. All right, so it is illegal in Washington, D.C. to carry a concealed weapon. It's generally illegal to just carry guns around because it's Washington, D.C. You know, the president lives there. There's all sorts of security involved. Fair to say that this crowd, quite a lot of them ignored that. They decided to march on the Capitol building, which is where the Senate and the Congress were meeting, and the Vice President were meeting to certify the results of the election, and they just walked right in.
Yeah, I actually saw footage of what appeared to be the police just kind of opening the gates and letting them in.
There's some dispute about that, whether that's actually accurate footage.
It seems too ridiculous. I say that as someone that's talking currently about America, Trump era, with all the things that have been happening. But that just does seem a little. The fact that it was filmable and filmed clearly, whatever that was, it just no. Unless they genuinely thought that whatever it was that happened there was going to succeed, and that somehow Trump was going to end up back in power, and therefore those police wouldn't be, reprimanded for doing it.
They did. They arrived. Some of them arrived with zip ties. They were planning to take hostages. They arrived with guns and zip ties.
They were planning bombs as well, didn't they? Things.
Sorry? There were bombs all over the place. Yeah, bombs all over the place. They were planning quite openly to hang Mike Pence. They were going to hang him if he certified the election results.
Yeah.
It wasn't even secret. They discussed this openly on their message boards. They talked about it in public. And 5 people died.
Incredible, isn't it, really?
5 people died. They beat a policeman to death with a fire extinguisher. They beat him to death.
That did happen. Also, there was a I think it was a policeman that was crushed.
Oh yeah, he survived, but he was hurt.
There was a woman that was crushed as well.
There was a woman who was trampled. She was a QAnon supporter who was carrying a "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
That was it.
I know, right?
Maybe maybe it was misspelled, and they just thought it said "tread on me." Who knows?
It's possible. I don't
ever sort of understand the meaning of "don't." So
no, I've watched. I'd say so before we go any further, I have watched some footage of some of the more awful stuff that's happened, so that you don't have to really. Don't seek it out. Anyone watching this, don't seek it out. There's no reason to. It's just unpleasant. There's no. I'm relaying this information to you. There was a woman who was shot because she was breaking into an area a secure area. So of course she was shot. I don't know what they expected to happen, but
well, I think the problem, not problem, but the part of the reason that that even happened, I think, was perhaps the fact that they even got that far.
Yeah.
If you can get that far without being shot, then why would you believe you're going to be shot after that?
You'd carry on.
I mean, to a degree, but she was also, by all accounts, a belligerent conspiracy theorist who had several people had in the past taken out restraining orders on her. She was quite an aggressive person.
Yeah, I don't doubt
not
any
that
of
this
that.
Makes anything okay. It's bad that she got shot. She shouldn't have been shot.
It's just ridiculous.
I've got no real sense.
The fact that anyone needed to die for that situation.
One man tasered himself in the bollocks.
Huh?
One
was
guy
that,
tasered himself in the bollocks and died of a heart attack.
The fact that most of these, well, I mean, apart from the police officer, they were all rioters or terrorists or whatever we want to call them.
And they were all avoidable.
It was all avoidable, and some of them did these things to themselves in some sort of ridiculous slapstick kind of nonsense way of dying.
The taser guy.
Yeah. The taser guy was just,
honestly, it's like a sketch show. It's like some sort of just getting the most. I don't know what to say.
They just have.
Because there isn't much to be said. It's
the thing is,
incompetent idiots. Somehow
like Tom and Jerry, but live.
But then some of them managed to kill themselves.
I honestly wonder if it's something to do with being a middle-class white American. If that you're so convinced that the world does what you demand that you don't bother planning properly. You just sort of go and do stuff and expect it to work out for you because it mostly does.
Well, they're used to a life where everything's kind of gone their way, even though they don't seem to think it has. It really has. They don't know depression.
I mean,
they don't know what it's like to not have a reasonably large property on a huge bit of land. And most of these people, there will be people among them who don't have much, but certainly a lot of them, they've got a lot and they don't even realize it. They don't know how fortunate and privileged they are. I mean, that's the thing, is the privilege of it all. And that's without even touching on the fact that there's a lot, much of this is white privilege. But outside of that, I mean, it's not really outside of that, is it? Because the reason they've got a lot of these things is because of that. But
more or less.
I mean, I think we need to
look at the fact that they've got any privilege at all. Although they just seem to think that something is being taken from them.
I think we need to talk. We need to talk about the privilege that was on display here as well, because we do need to compare it to the BLM demonstrations that had taken place.
Absolutely, yeah. Parallels are very much there.
The parallels, well, except that they're. I know what you mean, but the thing about it is that the parallels are not there. The white terrorists.
Well, except that one side is very different to the other.
Yeah, these people were just allowed to stroll into the Capitol building, threatening the government armed, and do what they fucking well please.
Whereas if you were black, you'd get shot down from about 6 meters.
Yeah, they wouldn't have even got anywhere
further.
near that.
Let's say 60.
Just at the merest hint that they were even going to attempt it, if they had been BLM supporters, they wouldn't have even managed to get out their own front doors, probably. They would have
the FBI at the door before they'd even got out of it.
Yeah. They probably would have been shot on their own properties by the police going to them before they even got out of bed.
At one point,
that has actually happened before.
I think I was talking about Breonna Taylor.
Times really, but this main one was Breonna Taylor.
Yeah,
she was the one that was shot in her house, even though she was not even a suspect. They basically got the wrong person, haven't they?
They got the wrong house.
Well, yeah, the wrong person.
And she was a medical worker, so they probably would have needed her about now.
Probably.
But no, they went and.
She was also in bed. Or had just got out of bed. I think she'd got out of bed because she heard someone kicking her door in. Who did not know.
White men can walk straight into the Senate with guns and intent to kidnap, and it's apparently fine.
No,
it makes no sense.
There have been a huge number of arrests since Wednesday. Now.
Yeah, but not deaths to the scale of
not
that.
No,
is there?
Absolutely no. God, there is no doubt. Anyone with eyes to see can see that the American police are enforcers of white supremacism first and foremost.
Yeah,
they're not defenders of the people. They're enforcers of white hegemony. So there is actually, I know that we've been saying that it looked like it was all going to be quite might blow over without any real repercussions for the people involved, but there is actually a massive manhunt at the moment for all of them. A lot of people have been arrested. They're facing very stiff, very serious charges, and the FBI is offering money in return for identifying the people involved. 6 of the people who have been identified are elected Republican officials from different states.
Really?
6.
One of them lost their jobs as well, didn't they? The Maryland.
Loads of them have lost their jobs. Loads of them have lost their jobs.
Yeah, that's just been like a sort of cascade of people.
He had his work lanyard on, and they took a photo. Company.
He didn't take off his lanyard.
He didn't take off his work lanyard. Who doesn't do that as soon as they get out of work? That's like the first thing you do.
Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of that, and I thought, "Is
hilarious?
That can't
Like
be."
he asked to be fired, basically, by doing that. It's dumb.
Yeah. Well, this is it, though. It's the brazenness of it, isn't it? The sort of, we can do what we want. And it probably
my company won't fire me. I'm so important.
It probably for a while seemed like they can do what they want because they got in, you know, and they sat behind the desks and they took the photos themselves.
But who performs a crime with their actual fucking ID on them in visual prospect?
Well, I'm looking at a picture of him now.
It's right here.
Committing crimes.
Dumb.
Sort of looks a bit like his lanyard's hanging from his beard.
It probably is. He's probably got caught in his beard. He probably tried to take it off before he came out.
Maybe he couldn't get it over his beard.
He didn't realise that it's still there. Because that's how thick they are.
Oh, I'm just trying to...
Probably other things in there as well, like old tyres and slippers and things. You know.
An old McDonald's from 20 years ago.
I mean, he was hanging around with
lasagna from 3 weeks ago.
The attention-seeking guy with the stupid horn thing. Yeah, that did it. They're just, I don't really want to talk. I don't really want to talk too much about him because he's just an attention-seeking tosser.
But yeah, to wear it right in front of you when you're going to do an act of what is basically national terrorism, that's pretty fucking dumb.
Well, I'm
at least tuck it in, you know, like tuck it in your. You're wearing a huge jumper. Tuck it in your jumper.
Wear a fucking mask. Wear a mask to conceal your identity, and because there's a pandemic. You know, most of them, the reason they didn't wear masks is because they wanted to, because they're anti-maskers. It's not because they didn't want to conceal their identity, not because they didn't think, because they just didn't think they believe COVID's a hoax, or that they shouldn't have to wear masks because they're too fucking free, or whatever it is that these stupid bastards think.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. Different nonsenses, really, isn't it? Yeah, it would go against their principles, wouldn't it? Having a mask, especially a full face mask.
Yeah, and so they've left themselves open to identification and arrest immediately. You know, it's not.
But how can they be famous for 5 minutes if we can't see their faces?
What I dislike about the horned guy is that the memes about him are getting shared all over the place, which just amplifies him. Even if people mean well by sharing it, they're just amplifying it to the level of Trump memes, and it's just like, stop amplifying bad people, even if it's just a joke, or it's like. Yeah.
I mean, the pissing is to a point, but it's true that the more you share it, that eventually it just becomes, hey, I know that guy's face.
He'll be looking back in 10 years' time, and someone will recognise him in the Tesco queue because, oh, you're that guy from that meme with your horns on. Oh wait, is it
wearing the same costume at Tesco?
To be honest, I'm not sure many people are going to recognise him. His face is quite heavily painted. Unless he wanders around like that all the time, it's going to be.
I bet the locals know who he is, a man like that with them tattoos.
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's already been. I think he's already been arrested.
That's just his work uniform. He came straight from work.
I know. All he has to do is take his shirt off, and apparently his uniform is on his shirt. On his.
Maybe he's like a mascot in a steakhouse or something. I don't know.
Okay, so there were two people there who were wearing some very obvious fascist dog whistles for anyone who knows what they're looking for. There was a guy who was wearing one that wasn't really a dog whistle. It was more of a kind of announcement that he is a fascist. It was a sweater, and on the front it said Camp Auschwitz, and on the back it said staff, because this is the sort of thing these fucking assholes think is funny. There was another guy who was wearing a t-shirt that said, or probably a sweater, I think, because it was cold that day, that said 6MWE. This is another fascist dog whistle. It stands for 6 million wasn't enough, and is a reference to the Holocaust. These people are fucking scum. Well, yeah, I mean, so anyway, yeah, it didn't go well for them anyway. It didn't go well for them. Well,
I certainly hope that those ones in particular, all of them, but those ones in particular, really get what's coming to them.
They might. They broke into the building. They broke into the Senate House and the Capitol building, armed, in Washington D.C. That's very serious. That's They also did it specifically to disrupt the workings of the US government, which is terrorism. This wasn't a peaceful protest. It wasn't civil disobedience. It was terrorism. They wanted to take hostages and hang the vice president and kill anyone if they could get their hands on who would certify the results. They also wanted to, but probably almost certainly wanted to burn the ballot boxes containing the electoral college votes. They wanted to stop the transition of power. That it was terrorism. It was terrorism in a democracy. That is terrorism.
If left people are doing it, there's a damn good reason for it.
Ethnic cleansing. They cheer for it and call for it and want it. They demand it. They approve of racism and want there to be racism. There's this current of thought that runs through a lot of the commentariat in the UK and in the US that this is just that they're so stupid that they're accidentally racist. It's not that. They're not stupid. They're not accidentally racist. They're deliberately, specifically racist because they hate people of colour.
Yeah,
no, they do. They're doing it on purpose.
Not that they don't know any better.
Yeah,
they do, but they don't believe.
It applies to them.
Yeah,
not so much that they believe they're right to hate people of colour. That's really what it comes down to. They believe that is right, but that's fine. It's not that they don't know any better, that they're accidentally being casually racist or something, like some people are. I'm not going to get into it, but obviously we all know, the sort of statements people make sometimes, and they don't realise they're being racist by saying them. No, it's not that. These people are outwardly racist. I mean, camp out and things like that.
They're racist and proud about it.
Yeah,
but this is it. It is the pride of it. The fact that they can walk around.
They don't exhibit much pride. Not really. Not pride, is it? What they look like is angry. They're just angry.
Yeah.
Well, they are.
Angry at other people existing. How dare they?
Yeah, they're angry that their lives are getting, that they're not first-class citizens anymore in the way that they wanted to be. They're angry.
They weren't in the first place. They weren't there first.
Yeah, they're angry that they might have to make any kind of effort to be inclusive, tolerant, or kind. They're just
possibly the greatest irony of all. There is
the opposite, really, aren't they? To be fair.
The great background irony of the fact that they weren't even there first.
I
know, that's me being a bit immature, because I'm like, it wasn't even their land first. Whatever.
That's not immature. That's a good point. That is a good point.
Well, I mean, it's my land first, so fuck off. But it's true. They can't be seen as first-class citizens because they weren't the first there. So fuck off.
Well, quite.
And on a similar sort of note, this racism towards African American people. I mean, it's in the name, African American. They didn't choose to be there in the first place. It was literally the ancestors of these white people that took them there against their will.
Yeah.
So if they want to be angry about African American people being there, they should be angry with their own ancestors instead.
Oh,
but they'd never do that, because that would be accountability, Rath.
Their ancestors.
About a lot of these people's ancestors. A lot of these people's ancestors fought to bring more Africans over there and to keep them enslaved.
Exactly.
These are,
and yet
that's not. You know what? That's not true. Not all of them are Southerners, and as Georgia has shown, a lot of Southerners are left wing nowadays, or at least
nowadays. In 4 years, they changed. You can't.
Yeah, I know. It's
nowadays, sure, fine, but 4 years isn't enough time for that much change.
True, but I don't know how you fix this either. I don't know how you.
Well, they keep doing what they did right for this.
Well, I mean, it's been this way since the Wild West days. All the way since then, it's been. I mean, obviously, you had the Civil War between the North and the South, essentially.
Between racists and people who didn't think you should have slaves.
Surely, like, all of this stuff equates to a civil war by now between BLM and the Senate.
I think it's bloody close.
This feels like a cusp of something.
It doesn't. What it feels like to me is an empire in decline. That, the social contracts sort of fraying, the social fabrics sort of falling apart a bit. The rule of law isn't really something many people are that concerned about. And a lot of reactionaries who want to turn back the clock to a time when they were doing better, when the empire was strong. That's what this is the fall of the American empire. This is the end of America as the only
American dream.
The death of America as a superpower. It'll be a regional power.
That's quite a big statement.
Yeah, well,
we'll probably see, I suppose, because
they squandered their hegemony, didn't they? They brought this on themselves.
Under Biden might change things back that way a bit.
But he's only got 4 years to make change.
So the problem with Biden,
he's got 4 years to make change. In theory, he's 78.
Yeah.
He's got hopefully 4 years. It's pretty much almost certain that Trump isn't going to run in 2024. It's not going to happen.
He can't now, can he?
Well, he can. No, he can. He still
Trump,
can.
no.
They haven't impeached him. They're going to try and impeach him. I think it's almost certain that he will not run in 2024 because I don't think he wants to. He'll be too old. He's already too old.
I don't think Donald Trump will.
But here's the thing. I know a lot of people are concerned that the Republican Party is going to find themselves a more competent fascist to lead it. I don't think they can.
They might
it'll work. I think this loss is a massive blow to the Republican Party. I don't think they'll have their shit together in 4 years to be able to run again.
Why not? Who is in the recruitment list?
Well, nobody. Nobody who works. Nobody who fills the gap that Donald Trump filled. There's nobody belligerent,
no one like
loud,
him.
Charismatic.
There is one man.
He is charismatic. You can't take that away from him.
There's one guy. I can't remember what his name is, but he is of that nature, and it is he kind of fills the shoes of the sort of person we're talking about.
You mean Tucker Carlson?
No, it's someone else. I've forgotten his name, which is
Donald
entirely
Trump?
unusual. No, not him. Although,
is he in this room?
There's, well, he could be in your room there, Ella, because you're on top of the planet.
I mean, this Zoom. Is he in this Zoom?
No.
What would it be nice?
Okay, cool. That's a relief.
I certainly hope not.
I just wasn't sure where you were going there, Rath, so I thought I'd ask.
I'd be a far more competent despot than Donald Trump could ever hope to be. There'd be I'd be starting gulags immediately, right? The political arrest would happen day one. There's none of this fucking around with norms or laws. Dissolve the judiciary and arrest all my enemies. Re-educate them all.
So if anyone was wondering,
every classroom have a giant glaring picture of my face.
And obviously this is something I need to Photoshop now.
Where's the bulge?
So a pledge of every day, a pledge of allegiance to me.
Okay, I'm all right.
Okay.
Sorry, that's really funny.
I don't think there's anyone who's really going to be able to take Trump's place. The moment his abrasiveness, they'll look to someone smoother, and his abrasiveness was a big part of his appeal to a lot of his followers. A lot of his followers, they're never gonna vote Democrat, not ever. That's never gonna happen. But they might not vote at all if they just think there's no point, which they might well do if it's not Trump in 4 years, and it won't be.
But we don't know that they haven't been training up a mini Trump all along, and we just haven't heard about him because they want him to have the limelight whilst he's still around.
There's no
Well,
training in the
one of his
world that could
sons-
possibly create a Donald Trump.
One of his sons.
That is a
like-
lack of training.
I
They could
don't
just
know.
clone him, I guess. That's a thing.
To get their names, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. One of them could step in, and there's been talk of it. But
Eric
I don't know
Trump.
if they really have the sort of commitment.
Don Jr.'s just he has no charisma. Donald Trump has a kind of animal, nasty, sort of villainous charisma in a way.
You want to run the other way, really.
Donald Trump Jr. just doesn't have. He just doesn't have. He's just a sort of off-putting and slightly weird creep. Whereas Donald Trump is also.
I'm sorry. I think you're giving charisma a bad name, attributing it to Donald Trump. I'm sorry, but I don't think charisma and think Donald Trump. I look the other way.
It doesn't make you moral. It's not a sign of character. It's just people have. It's not.
I don't know.
Hitler was charismatic.
But, like, I attribute charisma to like things that. Yeah, I think you're giving it a bad name. I feel sorry for charisma in this context. Is what I'm saying.
One of the main.
Also, the color orange. I feel sorry for because that gets attributed to him.
That's fair.
One of the main features of Hitler was that he was extremely charismatic. That's why he got where he did.
Well, that's what I say.
Why a lot of these people do get where they are. They're very, very good at talking. Hitler was incredibly good at talking. He was very good at giving speeches. People listened to what he was saying. That's the problem. If you had someone like that in charge of America, they would get much further than even Trump has. Trump was very popular with certain people, and he was popular with other people. They wanted to change. They wanted change. They got change, but a lot of them have now realised actually that's not the change I wanted. And the others still follow him, but they're the only ones that would follow him again. The ones that are still clinging on. And I don't. That's not really enough anyway, is it? If he did run again, is that even enough?
Trump.
Just the ardent followers that he's still got. Would that even be enough? I don't think it would.
It wasn't. It wasn't. We just had an election.
Last time it was.
That's what I mean. The people that
we're on a 50-50 balance here. We need another election to figure this out. If we're going on a 50-50 balance, Trump won the last one, Biden won this one. So we can only say, we can't clear cut say.
Biden won this one by miles.
I know that, but we can't clear cut say that it wouldn't happen again because we're all worried it might.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
We need another election to clarify that, and we don't get that for 4 years, thankfully, because who needs that stress in their lives again right now?
This is the thing, though. Anything can happen in 4 years. As we know, anything can happen in a week. So 4 years, that's a long time.
9 days! Guys, it has seriously only been 9 days.
Yeah.
That's what?
Roll on 2022.
We're on the 9th of January.
Yeah.
It's mad.
Week and a half in. No, we're not, though. We're not into 2021. The 9th day.
Are you sure we're not in 2020? Because this feels like 2020.
This is the 9th day of the 13th month of 2020.
Yeah, this feels like 2020. It smells like 2020. If I scratch and sniff it, it smells like 2020 to me. I'm not sure we actually had New Year. Did we?
We had.
Can we really say we had New Year if we didn't party until 7 a.m? Which we didn't because lockdown.
It's fucking 2020 still.